Welcome back. Do you have a favorite Vandoren mouthpiece? For instance, on my LeBlanc LLs, I use this Vandoren mouthpiece. It is a 2V, an older mouthpiece. It works well with both the B flat and the A version of LeBlanc LL. On my daughter's now, Buffet RC Prestige, I prefer a Series 13 Profile 88 M13 Lyre or Lyre. Slightly more open than the regular M13. Allows me to push more through the RC, which allows people to push more through it. Of course, I also have a regular M13. So I knew what to compare the M13 Lyre or Lyre compared to the regular M13. I have a 2RV. I have the one that probably most people are more familiar with, which is a B45. I can't even read this one anymore. Whatever that mark is for. And a more modern one, 5RV. So there's a lot of comparison and contrast you can do between mouthpieces when you have a bunch of them. And we're going to review my website real quickly, which actually has more information about the differences between the mouthpieces. We're going to take a quick look at my website. It's not complete. It's more the vintage ones, not the current modern ones. But if you're looking at a vintage mouthpiece, there's a lot of them out there, used ones. So we'll get right to it. Now here we start with the 2RV, has a normal tip opening 1.065, a lay length of 19.5. Has a little 2V on the side of it. Here's what the top looks like. You can see the ligature kind of scratch it all up here. And this has a throat of basically an H type throat, maybe slightly like an A throat. And really, if you were to look at a mouthpiece and just look at the throat, this could tell you whether it's very focused or it's very open and easy free blowing. The more of an A type frame it is, the more free blowing it's going to be in general. The more of an H it is, the more centered the tone is going to be, and the more, I don't want to use the word restrictive, but it requires more pressure from you to get the same volume you would get from an A frame. Anyways, next we have the 5RV, which has a 1.06 tip opening again, 19.5 lay length, and it was considered the standard for comparison. Then the 5RV Lyre, which is a 1.09 plus per Vandoren, but mine measured at 1.28. Lay length was 20.5, and because of the larger tip opening, it's more responsive. So if you blow more to get higher dynamics, blow fortissimo, double fortissimo, triple fortissimo, it's easier to do that than one with a H throat. And so it says here excellence with students, which I can agree with because it allows students more flexibility in playing. And as a clarinet, you're always fighting against the saxophones, trumpets, trombones. Next, we have a 5JB. I remember I had this. I used this one a lot with my CT, and it has a 1.47 tip opening, really big, 22.5 lay, and this allows you to really fill up the horn. Basically, it's a jazz mouthpiece. Open tip, long facing, great jazz mouthpiece. Take a look at the pictures here. 5JB on the side, at least for this version of it. And 5JB on the front of it too. And it's basically a wide H throat. Now there's 11.1 mouthpiece out there that I never got my hands on. They're hard to get a hold of. They're an early model. They have a 1.11 tip opening, 21 lay. I have no idea what they look like internally. Then there's 11.6, which has a 1.16 tip opening, 20.5 facing. And this is an older version once again, but it says it has the same sound quality as B45 by using a little bit stronger reeds. That's because of the longer facing. Then you have the standard B40, 1.195 tip opening, 21.5 facing, and it's a wider tip than the B45. more resistance, less bright than the B45. And it's used for softer reeds without sacrificing sound or quality. Now the B45 has the same facing and the same opening, and one thing that affects the clarinet a lot is the thickness of the tip rail and the side rails. So this is where they deviate. And I don't have a B40 to compare against a B45 to visually show you, so we'll just move on. B44 is 1.105 tip opening and 19 length facing, so it's a shorter facing. It can use harder reeds a little bit more easily. B45, once again, 1.195 tip opening, 20.5 facing, has a larger chamber, easier to blow than a B40, and is one of the most popular mouthpieces. So use a B45. This has on the side. Newer ones have it on the front. Well, this one has on the front also, or it's a different one. And this one looks down up through the mouthpiece itself. So a straight H throat. B45 Lyre, once again, 1.27. The Lyre means it more open basically. So it's a B45, but it's more open. It's like the M13 Lyre and such. This is 1.27 tip opening, 22 facing. So this has the sound of the B40 with the comfort of the B45. And that's what the mouthpiece looks like. Also has it on the side. Yeah, this was a Series 88. Oh, if you notice there, I started putting tape on the top of the mouthpiece so ligatures don't scratch things up. And here's looking into this. If you notice, on the H, it curves way down here, so it just provides more volume into the chamber, not just width, but also height a little bit. B46 now, 1.17 plus I put in there because I measured a couple of them. They're 1.17, 1.175, whatever at the time. 19.5 facing. It says ideal for dance musician with classical background or the symphonic clarinet looking for more tip opening. B46 on the side. I'm going to guess it's on the front too. B46 in the front. That's a really wide H throat right there. And so I can see why it's good for a dance musician. You'll see that Vandoren and other manufacturers had mouthpieces that they want saxophonists to use for dance bands and stuff like that. And Vandoren wasn't the only one. Another brand that did that was the Woodwind company. And if I have a video about that, which I should fairly soon, I'll put it at the end of the video. Of course, you have the more recent, probably from 20 years ago, M30, which is 1.15 and has a long facing. It was designed to provide more flexibility, long facing, large tip rail to produce a mouthpiece similar to sonority of the B40 with easier sound production qualities. I had an M30 before. I did not like it. It required harder reeds, and I just wasn't a fan for it. Anyways, B45 dot, which is 1.195, which is 119.5 tip opening, medium long facing. A large chamber mouthpiece provides a full round sound. I can't remember if I played one of those before, so. And B40 Lyre, 117.5, long facing. It shares many qualities of the landmark B40. It says a blend of round sound, great tone color, excellent sound production, especially in the upper registers. M15 has a smaller tip opening, 103.5, long facing length. And it says you're able to play a strong reed because of the long facing length with a smaller tip opening. Makes it easier to play than a larger tip opening. Excellent sonority. And that's the whole thing is when you get the harder reeds, the tonal, harder professional type reeds, not student reeds, you get a better tonal quality. And you get, as this has more colorful spectrum in the sound. The M13 Lyre, which I'm a fan of, is a little bit more open than the regular M15, has 102 tip opening and medium long facing. And it still permits easy blowing with harder reeds, a rich center sound, which I actually like the M13 Lyre. It's really one of my favorite mouthpieces. especially for the buffet at 13.5. Here's 13 here, 13 Lyre there. See the Lyre here is a series 88. Up front, M13 Lyre, or Lyre, however it's pronounced. The H throat is fairly wide, so it provides some good player dynamics. M13, 100.5, so not as wide as the M13 Lyre, of course. Long facing length. And this is designed to be more characteristic of the older American mouthpieces, like the Chevets and everything. It permits easy blowing with harder reeds, a rich dark center sound, and the response is really sensitive. I have one of these somewhere. I don't remember if it was. Oh yeah, I actually showed it at the very beginning. And yeah, I do like it. It's not one of my favorites, but I do like it. The AT45, 109.5 pacing, medium long pacing. I mean, the AT45, 119.5 tip opening, medium long facing. Apparently, this was the AT stood for Advanced Technology. Did I have one of those? Yeah, I can't remember if I had one of those in the past. But he used composite materials. Oh, yeah, I didn't like it. And as basically the B45 facing with a slightly brighter sound. I know people say material doesn't matter, but sometimes it does. And when you have high harmonics bounce off of things better when they're, better polished, not so rough. M14 has a 101 millimeter facing, a long facing length, and it says designed for American clarinetists performing in orchestras, closer than M13 Lyre with softer reeds. It has extraordinary blowing ease, incredible easy staccato, with a deep focus sound. Its long facing length allows for strong projection, good amplitude, and it's both good for symphonic and chamber music clarinets. Yeah, I remember when Vandoren was trying to recreate the early classic American mouthpiece manufacturing, basically from Chevet and other custom manufacturers at the time. I on here also the Model 66, long facing 1970s model, a Model 55, which is short facing, which I had at one time, fixing it for a customer. You can see this is really a wide opening here. See how deep it goes down into the throat? You can see the tip here. So the window here is a nice cutout, nice thicker side rails. On the side it's had 55 on it. And on the front it had 55 on it. Now I have a bunch of older Vandoren publications. Let's take a look at one of them. And this one goes through a whole bunch of mouthpieces. Shows you the facing, shows you the tip opening here, what's the baffle, what's the chamber, the window facet is the tip rail, and then the facing, how the curve is. The facing is the curve from the flat table to the tip rail. Then the window, and then the bore. And I have blueprints of a design of mouthpiece where it identifies which area of the mouthpiece can affect which notes on the instrument. I'll have to do a video about that too. But here we have 5RV. It has more information, recommended reads. It says identical to RV, RV Lyre, B44. You can 11.1. Yeah, German style mouthpiece. Okay. 11.6, B45, B45 dot, B40. And this is E flat clarinet information. B flat crystal, A1. I forgot about these models. Tip opening 1.10, 0.43. Facing is medium short, 18 millimeter. Recommended reads number 3. Bass crystal, E flat crystal. B flat crystal A2 and A3. You can see 1.2 millimeter versus 1.3. 17 versus 18 for the facing, short to medium short. And you see the reed changes from 2 to 3 to 2 as you get larger tip opening and a shorter facing. You want to use a softer reed, makes it easier to play. This has some pictures of how they kind of made mouthpieces back then. On a 4-dimensional lathe, is it? I'm not sure if it pulls out additional tools or not. After sawing off the guide pin used as a center on the lathe, the beak is shaped by a diamond grinder for ultimate consistency. Finishing the tip is also done with the grinder. The exact shape is given with the guide sliding on a true surface. Anyways, that was a quick review of vintage Vandoren mouthpieces. I hope it gave you some good information. Don't forget to give it a like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you later.